Hey, what's going on there, guys? I'm back here today with another booster box opening video for you. So I stopped in my local card shop and picked up a box of M14 so I could open it up on camera and share it with you guys. Along with buying the box, I also got a buy box promo, which this time around it's a Ratchet Bomb. For those of you guys that remember, Ratchet Bomb was originally printed in Scars of Mirrodin, and it saw some significant constructed play, so I'm pretty happy to see it back and reprinted so soon. So it's definitely going to be fun to play with this in constructed format still, mainly standard because it's already in existence as far as Modern's concerned. But definitely a really cool promo, and we're going to crack this box open here, and we're going to take a look at the rares and all the good stuff inside of here. I'm not going to focus as much on the uncommons and the commons. We're mainly going to focus on the foils and the rares that we have inside of here, but for the most part, the core sets seem to be a little bit more lackluster to players and collectors alike. That's because the core sets are more designed for being kind of like a simplistic set, and a lot of the cards that are in here are going to be limited filler, mainly being cards that are going to be used for draft and for sealed events. So they're designed to kind of draw in more players in a easier environment to play limited formats. But at the same time, M14 does still have some really good cards for constructed, a lot of really interesting ones. So we're going to see if we can pull any of them out of this box here, and we'll see if we have any other cool stuff, any foils or anything like that. So we're going to start into it and crack this open. I already tore into the wrap a little bit, so it'll be easier to open this on up. And we're going to unwrap this here, slide this out, pop this back, and we have our flyer here with Chandra. And on the back, it talks about running a league for players. So if your shop doesn't already have a league going, it's definitely something to look into. You can ask the shop owners about starting a league and getting some people together to play outside of like FNM and stuff like that. So we'll put the packs over here to the side, and we're going to start and take a look at what we have inside of these packs. Alright, so we're just going to slide through the commons, get the uncommons. And our first rare is Dark Prophecy, triple black. Whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. It's not a may or optional ability. Dark Prophecy reminds me of Necropotence. It kind of resembles it, I guess, because of the triple black cost. It's not quite the same thing as Necropotence, but you can still see kind of where there's a similarity between them. Our second rare is Sanguine Bonds. So it's 5 cost. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So 2 black cards back to back. The one nice thing about M14 though is that we do have Shock and Doomblade back. Doomblade is probably like one of the cards that I'm most excited about to see reprinted here, aside from others like Sarah Angel's, of course, awesome for limited. And our rare here is Pyromancer's Gauntlet, 5 cost. If a red instant or sorcery spell you control, or a red planeswalker you control, would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +2 to that permanent or player instead. A planes. It always feels like these packs, for some reason, that they have a foil, but I always get kind of misled about that, just because I think the tip card may be a little bit thicker this time around. It just always feels like the last 2 cards that are in there, there's actually 3 cards and one of them is a foil. But for the most part, I haven't seen a whole lot of foils with all the packs that I've opened up from the limited events that I've done before the release of M14. It doesn't seem like a lot of them had foils. Our rare here is Oath of the Ancient Wood, so 3 cost enchantment. Whenever The Oath enters in the battlefield, or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. You may put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Kind of interesting for constructed in terms of playing Bant, Hexproof, and playing off of like a ton of enchantments. And then we have a foil plane, so figures as soon as I mention something about foils, I would pull one. Foil lands are always cool. Not mad about it at all. We'll put that off to the side, and we'll keep track of our foils and any foil stuff we pull. So I'll try to go somewhat fast through this box. I know a lot of people like to see what commons I pull. Even though I'm not focusing too much on them, I'll still kind of skim through them. We have Mindsparker here, so 3/2 for 3. First strike, whenever an opponent casts a white or blue instant or sorcery spell, the Mindsparker deals 2 damage to that player. And then we have a Mountain and a tip card. And I actually like the cycle that they have with the designated hate cards. Each color has their own card like Mindsparker, and they do different abilities and they interact with different colors to a different extent. So I think they really did well with that cycle of creatures. I actually like all 5 of them that they have. I probably like the blue one the least. I can't think of the name of it. It's still a fresh new set with fresh new cards. We have Dismiss into Dreams, so 7 cost enchantment, pretty expensive. Each creature your opponent controls is an illusion in addition to its other types and has, whenever this creature becomes the target of its spell or ability, sacrifice it. So for EDH, this card seems pretty interesting, especially if you have means of being able to target your opponent's creatures consecutively and like consistently each and every turn. So it doesn't seem horrible for like something like EDH, casual, kitchen table Magic, especially because EDH players just love big fat cards like that with big huge mana costs. So we have the Tidebinder Mage. This was the blue card that I was talking about. 2/2 for double blue. And whenever it enters the battlefield, tap target red or green creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap steps for as long as you control Tidebinder Mage. So each one of them has specific hate. The implications are sideboard worthy. But I guess meta progression is probably the easiest way to tell whether the card's actually going to be good or not. If the meta gravitates towards like red and green heavy decks, then Tidebinder Mage may end up being really played. The same can be said for a lot of different cards as well. We have our first Mythic here, Ring of 3 Wishes. So another card that's pretty EDH bound. It's 5 cost, and it enters the battlefield with 3 wish counters on it, and 5 mana tap. Remove a wish counter from Ring of 3 Wishes, and search your library for a card, and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So, as far as tutoring in EDH goes, there are a lot of cheap ways to do it, but it's just kind of a do it once and it's kind of over situation. But with the Ring of 3 Wishes, you get to use it 3 times unless you have like proliferation going on or any other means of putting wish counters on it. I guess proliferation is probably the only way, unless there's something that's slipping my mind. Darksteel Ingot was pretty cool to see as a reprint as well. We have Burning Earth, a interesting sideboard card. It's an enchantment for 4, and whenever a player taps a non-basic lane for mana, Burning Earth deals 1 damage to that player. So it's kind of like Mana Barbs, but not exactly Mana Barbs. That's probably the closest thing I could compare it to. I don't know if I would rather have Burning Earth or Mana Barbs, but Burning Earth is definitely still interesting. I like it for sideboards. Definitely, for any just like mono red or anything close to mono red type of decks. We have Garrick Sword, 7/7 for 7 trample. Play with the top card of your library revealed, and if it's a creature card on the top, you can play it. Of course, you still have to pay its mana costs and everything, but allowing you to just play it off the top of your deck isn't bad. That's another one of those like EDH limited style cards. It's really expensive for constructed, but still a really cool card. Glimpse the Future is pretty interesting. I like it. It's a little bit worse than Forbidden Alchemy because it's sorcery speed and it does less. You get to look for less cards. Instead of 4, it's 3. But once Forbidden Alchemy rotates out, Glimpse may be like it's a replacement if it needs to be played. And then we have Quicken, which is another reprint. So it's 1 blue, and the next sorcery card you cast this turn can be cast as though it had flash, and you get to draw a card. So it's a decent cantrip if you need to like go and play sorcery speed cards at an instant speed. And then our last pack out of the first column here. And it's Haunted Plate Mail, so 4 mana. It's an equipment and equips for 4. And it gives equipped creature +4/+4. And for 0, until the end of the turn, it becomes a 4/4 spirit artifact creature that's no longer an equipment. And you can only activate it if you control no creatures. So a pretty interesting equipment card. It's pretty unique because if you don't have any creatures, it can turn into a 4/4 creature and be a blocker for you. We have a Johnny, Caller of the Pride, so another Mythic here. 4 loyalty, 3 cost. +1 puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature. -3 gives target creature flying and double strike until the end of the turn. And -8 puts X amount of 2/2 cat creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is your life total. So a Johnny, Caller of the Pride is a reprint from M14. He saw a little bit of play in like mono white variants. Not sure if he's going to see more play in the future. He's definitely a really interesting aggro-based planeswalker to have, especially for 3 mana. And he gets his loyalty up pretty quickly. And we have Into the Wilds, so it's an enchantment for 4. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Pretty cool card. I actually ended up pulling it in a 2-headed giant event, and my partner ended up playing it, and it's a real fun card because it lets you get lands off the top of your library, and it lets you draw into actual things that you need, and it's nice whenever you don't have to like draw lands just right off the top when you'd rather be drawing something else. It's another card that I would definitely see myself playing for EDH. We have Jace's Mindseeker, 4/4 for 6 flying, and whenever it enters the battlefield, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into their grave. You can cast an instant or sorcery from among them without paying its mana cost. Another thing that's pretty awesome about this set is that Scavenging Ooze was also reprinted. I wouldn't mind seeing one or two of those. And we have Trading Post. Yeah, that was another card that was reprinted. I totally forgot about Trading Post, actually. Trading Post is a really fun card. It's 4 mana, and it's an artifact, and it has 4 abilities, all of them for 1 mana and tap. The first one is discard a card, and you gain 4 life. Second one is pay 1 life, and put a 0/1 White Goat creature token onto the battlefield. Third one is sack a creature, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. And the last one is sack an artifact and draw a card. It was really fun whenever you could play mono black Trading Post around things like Wormcoil Engine. That was just a real fun season towards the end to be able to play whenever Scars of Mirrodin was still around. That was a real fun time to be playing Trading Post. Alright, and we have another ingot. And we have a Johnny's Chosen, so 3/3 for 4. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a 2/2 white cat creature token onto the battlefield. If that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to the token, so that's pretty cool. A Johnny's Chosen gives me some hope for some decent enchantments to come whenever Theros comes out. Who knows, it might just end up being limited filler. Young Pyromancer is another really cool card. 2/1 for 2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 creature token onto the battlefield. And then we have Awaken the Ancient. So this was another really cool card that I liked whenever the set was spoiled. 4 mana, 1 generic, triple red, Enchant Mountain. Enchanted Mountain is a 7/7 red giant creature with haste. It's still a land. I like this as a 5-drop for red deck wins. Of course, whenever you're going off on like turn 4 and you play an enchanted land, you're not going to be able to swing in with them just because you're tapping all 4 of your lands. But turn 5, whenever you have another mountain open, you can enchant one of your earlier mountains, and you can swing in with a 7/7, which is just absurd. So I actually like that. We also have a emblem for Liliana of the Dark Realms, so that's actually pretty cool. I don't get emblems a whole lot, but Awaken the Ancient is definitely a really, really fun card for kitchen table Magic, and has some potential for being constructed playable, and obviously in like red deck wins variants, anything like really, really heavy red, especially when Thundermaw Hellkite is gone, once M13 rotates out whenever Theros comes in. And we have a Strionic Resonator, so 2 mana, artifact, and for 2, tap, copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for that copy. Pretty interesting card. I'm not sure of how broad the implications of it are, and how far you can abuse that card to get some huge benefit out of it, but it's definitely really cool. There are a decent bit of good triggered abilities around that I'm sure somebody could abuse and exploit with the Resonator. And we have Elite Arcanist, so 1/1 for 4 mana, 3 generic, 1 blue. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may exile an instant card from your hand, and X amount of mana tap, copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. X is the converted mana cost of the exiled card. So as far as kitchen table Magic goes, Elite Arcanist and Silence is a fun thing to do to make everybody hate you. So Arcanist is pretty cool. Yeah, so far only 1 foil. Usually with any other set I would probably have like 4 or 5 foils by now. I don't know, it might just be my luck, but it might just be that the other sets had a lot more foils than this one this time around. And Large was a pretty fun card. And then we have Megantic Sliver. So 3/3 for 6, and Sliver creatures you control get +3/+3. So if you're going for the tribal slivers vibe, then it's definitely a really good card to have. It's pretty essential, giving all of your slivers +3/+3 if you can ramp into it. It itself is a 6/6. But overall, the core sets definitely appeal the most with casual players and anybody that really likes to play a whole lot of laid-back kitchen table Magic. I think those are probably the people that will have the most fun out of playing with the cards from this set. We have a Doomblade there. Doomblade's, of course, awesome. And then we have Devout Invocation. So it's 7 mana, sorcery, and tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Put a 4/4 White Angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield for each creature tapped this way. So it's definitely another card that I really like for EDH and also for Limited. It's pretty expensive, but it's one of those kind of cards that puts you in the situation where you're just like really over the top at that point, where you just flood the board with 4/4s. So that was another Mythic for us. And then we have 2 more packs left in the second column here. We'll get things going here. We'll try to speed it up just a little bit, so I'm not tying up too much of your time. We have Traumatize, which was a fun card to see reprinted. Sorcery speed, and it's 5 mana, 3 generic and double blue. Target player puts the top half of his or her library rounded down into his or her graveyard. That was probably one of my favorite cards to play whenever I would just be playing like casual Magic. The first deck that I put together was actually a mill deck when I started like really getting into Magic, and I actually played Traumatize. So it was a lot of fun times being able to mill out my opponent for half their library off of 5 mana. And we have another Into the Wilds. So that's the second one that we have out of here. And now we're starting off into the third column here. Alright, so we have Grim Return, 3 mana instant, and choose target creature card in a graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control. And a foil Wall of Swords, so that's another foil for us. Put that up there. Put the Grim Return down here. Grim Return was one of the cards that I really like playing on Duels of the Planeswalkers 2014. It's also pretty cool if you're able to use like Doom Blades and stuff and get rid of your opponent's big creatures and just take them back for 3 mana. That, or if you have like a ton of Death Touch guys. And we have Chandra Pyromaster. So 4 mana, 4 loyalty, 2 generic, double red, +1, and she deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to up to 1 target creature that player controls. That creature can't block this turn. 0 mana, and exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. So any mana costs still have to be played, but you at least get the benefit of being able to play off the top of your deck, especially if you need to like get into something that you really want and you want to dig into it. -7 is exile the top 10 cards of your library. Choose an instant or sorcery card exiled this way and copy it 3 times. You may cast the copies without paying their mana costs. So Chandra Pyromaster is such a fun card, and I know a lot of people are going to be trying to find ways to break her abilities, especially the -7, and be able to cast a lot of different various spells just for 0 cost, and being able to triple them up is just really fun. So, Pyromaster there. We have, what, 4? I think 4 Mythics so far, or... yeah, 4 of them. So we have the Ring, the Johnny, Invocation, and Pyromaster. Another Enlarge, and then we have Silence going along with our Elite Arcanist down here. So, for 1 mana, your opponent can't cast spells this turn. Spells cast before this resolves are unaffected. There's another card that I really like to play back in the day. Of course, Silence is definitely a nice EDH card with Isochron Scepter. And we have Colossal Whale, 5/5 for 7 island walk, and whenever it attacks, you may exile target creature defending player controls until Colossal Whale leaves the battlefield. It's just such an infamous card from the pre-release. I had to face it in the pre-release main event and also in Two-Headed Giant, and it was such an annoying card to have to get around. And let's see what else we have here. We have Diabolic Tutor. It's pretty cool to see that back. Thorncaster Sliver, 2/2 for 5, and Sliver creatures you control have, whenever this creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And we have a foil Solemn Offering. I just thought about it and didn't even think to mention it. Mutavault is also in this set. That's definitely another high chase one. It's a pretty good, actually a really good modern staple to have. And we have another Oath of the Ancient Wood and a foil Flames of the Firebrand. And we have a Dragon token. That's pretty cool. Another Doomblade there, and we have Lifebane Zombie, so the black hate cycle card, 3/1 for 3 Intimidate, and whenever it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand, you choose a green or white creature card from it and exile that card. Good for constructed up against Reanimator style decks. And we have an Armored Cancrix for our foil. And we have Door of Destinies, 4-cost artifact, enters the battlefield and we choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. So this is a really interesting card for tribal decks, especially things like humans, because humans still is a thing with Innistrad block still being in standard, so wouldn't be surprised to see like a lot of casual decks playing like Door of Destinies. It doesn't initially do like a whole lot, but over the course of like a couple of turns, especially whenever you get into like the later game, it definitely can make a huge impact. Especially if you need to like connect and deal some extra damage over there or make bigger creatures. Then we have Ogre Battle Driver. This is actually a card that I really like. It's a 3/3 for 4. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until the end of the turn. And then we have, oh yeah, that's so sick, a foil Colonian Hydra. This was actually one of the cards that I really wanted out of this set. Trample enters the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever it attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. That is sick. Really, really sick. So we have our foil Ogre, or our foil Colonian Hydra and our Ogre Battle Driver. So the Battle Driver and the Colonian Hydra was actually something that I wanted to kind of play side by side in like red-green, or also in Jund as well. There's also the Rakdos Blood Witch that interacts with +1/+1 counters and giving creatures with +1/+1 counters haste. So that was kind of a connection that I wanted to do, something like Jund, or maybe even just red-green, not even be too greedy and go into a third color. Then we have Indestructibility, Enchant Permanent. Enchanted Permanent is indestructible. It's pretty fun to see that card back. And second to last pack here, we have a Witch Stalker, another one of the hate cycle cards, 3/3 for 3, hexproof, and whenever an opponent casts a blue or black spell during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Witch Stalker. So gets around your opponent trying to play like Doom Blades and stuff on your creatures. Really fun card for like mono green, which is going to be something that I'm going to be playing into the Season of Standard. So Witch Stalker is one of those cards that I just really love. I just like the cycle of creatures that they had with their variable hate. And then our last pack here. So we'll see what we have inside of this last pack. Overall, the box has been pretty kind to me so far. We pulled a good bit of Mythics. We got our foil Mythic Colonian Hydra. Really happy about that. One of my most desired cards out of this set, probably. And we'll see what we have in this last pack. Sarah Angel. And we have Goblin Diplomats, 2/1 for 2, and tap. Each creature attacks this turn if able. And we have another foil Plains, pretty awesome. So, overall, pretty happy about this box, definitely because of that Hydra. But let me know if you guys had any good experiences with M14 and cracking packs or boxes or fat packs or any other Magic products that include M14. Let me know down in the comments below your experiences. Also, be sure to check out the playlist in the description below where I have all the previous boxes that I've opened of various sets that you guys can check out. But until next time, have yourselves a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.